Hello everybody and welcome to the third video on our Cubist art for those of you who are self-isolating. So we're going to do a bit of Cubist art, and we started in the last video with our drawing, and this was the drawing I did, if you remember, of the teapot, the wine glass, and the jug and the knife with the serrated edge. See the serrated edge there? So now is the exciting part. We're going to do a bit of painting. So I use these acrylics. See these acrylics here for a base paint. They're fabulous for a base for oil paints if you work in oils, but they're very cheap and you can get them. They are branded, so they're expensive if you get them in the art shop, but you can get these in Mr. Price very cheaply. And I'm not being paid a gratuity from Mr. Price, but they are the cheapest there. And they're handy. They're good for exercises like this. And if you want to frame this painting afterwards, you can go over it in a better quality and just bring it to life a little bit more. But I'm using these, and you can use any color you like because this is Cubism, and the Cubists used fantastic, bright, amazing colors, and they used somber darks and everything, and any color. I am going to use a group of cold colors, and then I might put in a little dash of something kind of fabulous then. But all my colors, these are the colors I've chosen. I like to limit my palette. They're all cool colors. I like to limit my palette and not put everything I have onto it. But you might want to do that. So the colors are up to you. But what we're going to do, we've got all these spaces here, all these shapes, and the shape of the teapot is now like a load of different shapes, and you're going to treat all the shapes as a piece of art on its own. You know, it's not a teapot anymore, it's a piece of abstract art. So you see my teapot there, that is no longer going to look like a teapot when we're finished. So, but to get a bit of depth in it, it's nice to get a couple of tones on it. So I'm using white as well to lighten if I want tones. Now, if you're using marker, I'm going to show you how to get the tonal values into a marker, which you can use water to do that. So I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm using paint today and these acrylics. So I've already done a piece here, that shape there, and I've done dark around and then white in the middle to just give it a little bit of depth. The idea is to, if you've got this color, like, you kind of create a balance throughout the page with that color. You know, so how do you create a balance? It's very much an individual choice, but I'm going to put it maybe here, 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 and here, this color. So here we are. Here's this color. Here's the cheap Mr. Price brushes, and they're great for things like this. So I'm going to do dark on this side of, see this little shape I'm doing here? Dark on this side. And then I'm going to use another brush and put white paint on this side. Now, can you see that there? A little bit. So I've got dark and light on there. See that there? And now I'm going to just blend in the middle of a little bit. So there's a little bit of dark and a little bit of white on it, just to give it a little bit of interest. Now I'm going to bring this color down here. I want to bring this kind of blue color. I'm going to put a bit up here. Same thing, blue. And then the other brush, actually I never use two brushes, but that's what you're supposed to do. So for you, I'm going to do it. And I tend to just use the one brush, and then it's kind of muddy, but do it kind of the way you're supposed to do it. Now, it will be very ridgy to begin with, but you can smooth it down later on. But you see the tones we're getting in that. So I'm going to do dark down here. Now, later on, if you want to make a beautiful cubist painting, you can set up an actual still life group. You know the way the painting I showed you of Braque, you could set up a whole group on a table and do a fabulous, now it will take you, we're doing this like in about 10 minutes. This will take you a few days to do, but you could set up your still life in a realistic way and do the teapot in several angles on the top of the actual teapot, overlapping, and then do your bowl of fruit in several angles, you know, and create a fabulous cubist painting. This is kind of more design, but also it's a cubist design. So I'm going to do a bit of blue all the way through here, because it's quite a nice blue. It's kind of a deep cerulean blue. I don't know what they're calling it on this tube here, but it's an interesting blue. Now, you see the way I'm doing blue? This is very much my choice, by the way. You can decide to basically do what you want with this. But I'm sort of taking the blue to create, see that there? I'm taking the blue to create a sort of a balance in the page. Okay, so now I'm going to just put in the tones with a bit of white here on the pieces I've made blue. So I'm putting white in just to give it a little bit of depth. These acrylics dry very quickly, which is great if you're doing them as an undercoat for oils, but for here on paper, they're okay. They're okay rather than being absolutely perfect. But we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for a beautiful piece of cubist art. Now I'm going to do another piece of this blue here because I kind of like this blue, and I'm going to do, this is a shape that was the abstract pace at the abstract space. See that shape there? That was the abstract space. So I'm going to actually make that into part of the design. So I'm going to do a bit of blue here. Now it depends. It's kind of like, I'm not a cubist painter. You know, this is the opposite from what I do. I am an abstract expressionist, which is not about making shapes and kind of filling them in. But so this is kind of, I'm doing this with you here and learning. But it might spur me on to do, I'm thinking of doing a self-portrait in cubism, maybe a very big one. I think that would interest me. So I've done all this blue throughout. See the blue? Looking good with the blue. Now I am going to try this green. Now, see this blue and this green might work quite well together. Contrasting colours and clashing colours are very in at the moment in everything. But the cubists, they broke the mold by doing that, because artists in the past said, oh, you can't use that colour with that. You can do exactly what you like. You learn the rules of art, and then you learn to break them, which is very exciting. So I'm putting on this green. See this green now? Isn't that great green? Look at it, look at it. Anyway, I'm going to put this green right next to the blue. And this time, I think I'm going to leave the tones until afterwards. I'm going to put in a little bit of tones. I think I'll leave that little white piece white. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see the green now. I'm scared the whole thing falls onto the floor of the studio here. Right. So I'm going to do this bit green. Again, I'm going to choose to balance the work around the room, around the page. I've just got something stuck to my toe here. Right, so I've got a bit of green there. Now I'm going to put another little bit of green here and a bit of green here. You sort of, I like to make a sort of a line with the colour to make it more, to make it into another kind of a shape on the page. So I'm going to go around all this texture. Remember when we were doing our texture, the difference between pattern and texture is that texture is like, if it's dots, it's a whole load of dots very close together, and pattern is your dots bigger and spaced out so that they make a pattern. So that's the difference between texture and pattern. See, this was this space here. See that space there? That's kind of it wasn't an object, but the abstract space, which is the space that there's nothing in, now becomes part of your cubist piece of art. So I'm going to put this one in, this green. I kind of like this green. It's kind of got a fluorescent quality to it. And it's like an emerald and a lime combined. It's a very nice green. Now this I'm going to put on without doing tones in it, this colour, because I am going to put in the tones afterwards. So I'm standing right back now, you can't see me, and having a look at this to see where I need more green. What do you think? In here? Yeah, okay. We'll put a bit of green in there. And just to join it up, I'm going to put this bit in green as well. Now, I'm leaving little bits of white in here because sometimes the little bits of white can make a difference. Now I am going to put some of these dots green. A little bit too much paint on that, but right. A few of these dots green as well. Now the acrylic dries quickly, so you should be able to paint round those. I'm going to put that green as well. Okay, so there's my blue and my green in the painting. I'll turn this around when I'm finished and show you it better. It's a bit of an angle here. So what I'm going to use next is, this is the colour I have next. I have this. So that was the first colour. And then I had this colour. And now I have this. It's kind of it's a very kind of limey green. So I'm going to do a bit of that on it and see if we can get a different effect with that lime green. So you could keep what acrylic is a water-based paint, so it just washes off. If you've got, I've got a jug of water here. Look, here's my jug of water, and it washes off. So, but I have a few of these little brushes. Now, sometimes it's nice if everything blends in together. You know, so I wouldn't worry about cleaning the brushes too much. You might get a better effect. Sometimes the very best effect you get in a painting is an accident. When something accidentally pours on it, you need to not ignore that. You can't ignore that. You need to look at that and say, nature's way of telling you it might have improved the work. So anyway, here's this lime green. Now you see the different colour of this green. It's a nice, I think what I'm going to do is put a little bit tone on when I'm finished this, because I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can because I don't think I could cope with doing another video, but it gives you the idea. So what we're going to do now with this green, we're going to balance it across the page. So I think we need a bit there, and we certainly need a bit here of this kind of lime green, which I'm going to go around these little dots, join this whole thing up. And you see the way, you still see the teapot in there. So the idea with this cubist art is to kind of still see the objects if you look very carefully. But the real idea is that you create a completely different. I'm going to blend that in a little bit. See the way that's making a different colour in there? I like that. I'll go over one of these dots. Right, so this is, I'm going to do this circle. It's very much a choice. There's no right way and wrong way of doing it. And anybody that tells you so is a bit too pernickety. Pernickety is a lovely word, which is a Scottish word. It means too very, very careful, which I am never very, very careful. You could be more careful than me, because you could turn out to be, this could be your thing, this cubist painting. You could be the next Picasso or the next Braque. I think I'm going to do this bit as well in the lime. You know, that's quite a lot of lime, but I think I like that. I like the, you can see why I'm not a cubist painter. You know, I'd have a much bigger painting and I'd be going mad with the paint. But anyway, here we are, a little bit there and a little bit there. Now, if you are self-isolating, I want you to look around the house and see if there's anything you can use in your painting. You might want to do a bit of collage in this. You might want to stick on, you know, a few cooking, you know, things like a few chili peppers or rice or something. See that texture? See the texture created there? That would be lovely with rice. If you stuck it on rice with a bit of glue and then painted over it, you might get a wonderful texture on that. So here's my lime green. Okay, so I am going to do a bit of lime green here as well. So now this texture, I'm going to paint all over it and let the texture show through on this bit here of this colour. Now we have a little bit, what do you think I should do now in this? Try and show you this a bit better. There, it's coming along. So when you're doing it, you kind of make a judgment. Say, where else would I want this lime green? And even looking at this now, I think it needs a bit of extra colour. Oh, what am I doing with this? Can you see it? Okay, so that's my lime green. Now, didn't I say to you I was going to show you how to do a little bit of tone with the marker? So if you've only markers, you could do this whole thing in marker. So here's what you do. You take a nice brush, which I haven't sorted out, but I'll get one now. This is just a paste brush. Okay, because I'm working on a big area here. So you need water for this with your marker. So what you're going to do, you're going to get a tonal value with your marker. I'm going to do some marker. So I'm just going to do some marker. See this shape here? I'm going to fill in here with the marker. So you're filling in. You could go back over it and do it neater. So I'm doing all the outline here in this marker. This is my blue marker, which I did the outline with. So I'm trying to work as quickly as possible in this. Look at this serrated. I just love these kind of stepping stones of the serrated edge of the Yeah, so I've put my marker on all the way around the edge because I want that the darker piece. Now, if that's not dried in too much, I'm going to take my brush here and the water and kind of see the way, look, the colour of the marker, it's running down the page, but never mind. Colour of the marker is coming out of the marker piece I've put in. Now, you don't want these lines showing, or maybe you do, it's up to you, but personally I don't want the lines showing. Now, do you see that? Now, so there's how you get tones with markers. You are, see that now? See the tone I've got? That's just marker and water. So I've got this colour. That is the marker I put on, and that is just water, but you're trying to get a piece of the colour from the marker on that. So it gives a nice effect. So if you've got markers, you could be doing this all the way through with your markers. Now, because I've got the marker thing there, I'm going to put another balancing marker piece over here. And then I get my water, not too much, and blend in. That's going off the page a little bit because I've got this big brush, which probably wasn't a good idea, but don't be too fussy with it. No, I quite like that. So far so good. So that's what, if you're using markers, that's how you do it. If you're using pastels, or they're kind of, look, these are my pastels. They're kind of like chalk. Again, these are the cheap ones out of Mr. Price. And they are great for your, this was what, see what I'm doing now? The painters in the Renaissance, for instance, would have called this, well, they wouldn't be doing cubism, but anyway, they would have called this a cartoon for their main painting. So they would do this out, and then they would decide whether it was working, whether what way they would change it when they were doing the real thing. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to take a bit of this purple. So if you're using chalks, now that's all you might have in the house at the moment. So to get your tonal value in your chalks, I'm going to do a bit of purple here. So it's no harm if you want to do a piece of work with mixed media like this. I'm doing it really because I'm trying to cater to people who might not have paints. So if you have some chalks, this is what you do. The darker side of the chalk, you put it on quite heavy. Now you get your finger and then you rub it in. So you're getting a tone. You're getting a light side and a dark side. When I turn this round a bit at the end, you might see it. Chalks, you have to blow this surplus off. And sometimes if you're working in paint and you're working in chalk as well, and you blow the bits off, they land in the paint and they make a lovely texture on it. Nothing is an accident in art. Everything is exciting and wonderful and meant to be. So I've got a bit of purple here. So I'm going to do a little bit more purple. As I said before, it's nice to balance your design, to balance your colour within your design. I'm going to put a tone on this one. So a light side and a dark side to that one. Now, where do you think I might need a bit more of this purple? I think down here, and I definitely think up here, and maybe there. Any more purple? Here might be nice for a bit of purple. This is purple pastel. Very cheap in Mr. Price. Now, I also think I need a bit of purple in here. Now this, what do you think? Should I do this purple? I think I will. So, I'm going to do a two-tone purple on my serrated. It's kind of like steps, this now, isn't it? I like it. I love. So maybe when you're choosing your objects, you might like to choose something that maybe has a sharp edge, or some of that's mixed in with that. That's no harm. Right, it's not too bad. And then a bit of purple here. I think this needs to be purple as well. And I'm going to rub in the colour to make it a lighter purple here. So if you're using chalks, do you get that? I'm sure you've done chalks before, and you know how to get a light side and a dark side of your chalk. Now, you might want to leave a little bit of white here and there on this. I've got a lot of white down here, so I'm thinking this should be purple as well. This part here I am going to do with a purple chalk for all you people who are working with your grandchildren's packet of school chalk on your cubist piece of art. So there is your purple. I still think personally that I've got too much white in this, so I am going to get rid of some of the white. And I think what I'm going to do is, because I love to jar things a little bit, I'm going to put in a very strong fluorescent pink. Look at this. I love these fluorescent colours. But I'm going to put in a very strong piece of fluorescent pink on the bits that are left. Okay, wait till you see this colour now. Look at this. This is fluorescent pink. Isn't that cute? So see all the little shapes we have. Look at the little shapes we have in this cubist painting. It's full of little spaces that we can explore with our paint. This is the fastest cubist painting in the world. It has been done very fast. So, oh, look at this piece of the spout in the fluorescent pink. You get these fluorescent colours in, it's amazing what you get in art. You get three-dimensional paints. In these acrylic things, you get three-dimensional ones. You get fluorescent ones. You get ones with grain in them. They're like when they dry, they're kind of lumpy, which you might be needing that effect somewhere. And I'm just looking at this here, and I think I like my fluorescent pink, but I think this bit of green here, that bit of green is a little bit too green. So I'm going to take a chance and put some of this in and see what colour it gives me. It gives me a kind of a interesting colour, but it's going to just, I found that green was just a little bit too green. So this colour, this is what I do all the time, which is not what I tell my students to do. I tell them to wash their brush. But if you don't wash your brush, sometimes you get the most amazing blend of colours, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just adding a little bit of colour and depth to this. Now, I think we're pretty well finished with this now. And I hope you'll be very happy with yours when you do it. But here's my abstract painting now can you see the little teapot, the wine glass, the jug? Probably you can't, but that's not a bad thing. This is a cubist piece of art, and I really hope you'll enjoy it. And it's actually spurred me. I'm a cubist painter, but I've got this frame with this really dull print in it. Never buy print, by the way. Print, even though it's beautiful looking, it'll go down in value every year. If you take out the print in your big frame, turn it over, because it's got a white background, and you make a really beautiful cubist painting that's going to go, it's original. This that I've just created is the only one like it in the entire world in these days of mass production. Isn't that just amazing? So you do that. Make a lovely, beautiful one for your living room. So there's mine, and thank you so much for taking part in this self-isolation art.